Last week, several companies in the Magnificent Seven of IT gave some information about layoffs, but at the same time, we saw how their stock went up, and they gave talks about that. And I wonder how much that correlates, whether or not we're in a AI bubble, because they always mention AI when they're talking about that. And I may get into some of that in a future video, but I'm still trying to figure out where I fall on that. Still doing some research. But one thing I am sure about is a topic that we used to hear a lot coming from Silicon Valley, but we don't hear as much about it these days because of AI. And the only person I can think of that I really hear talking about this is one of my favorite thinkers, Stephen K. Bannon. Listen to and watch this.
Dave Walsh, the evidence is coming out now, and people, whether the opinion pieces in the Wall Street Journal, all Financial Times of London, great piece over at, and I'll put it up a little later, over at Zero Hedge. What do you got for us in the election? Now I got Democrats. All these, every TV ad of a Democrat in New Jersey is that we're gonna solve the affordability issue by taking care of your electric bill. I mean, they're so brazen. It's the people that got you here are so brazen that now they're going to take care of it. Dave Walsh, the floor is yours.
Well, Steve, I guess we, consistent with your theme this morning, we initiated on this forum the conspiracy thought process about 4 years ago that renewables and the shortage of were causing a massive shortage of electricity and going to lead to massive price hikes. And now suddenly, within the last few months, everybody's on board with, oh yeah, that's for real. Oh yeah, that's for real, including Bill Gates, who had this terrific epiphany and turnaround this week, now acknowledging an industrial economy cannot be powered based on renewables. And guess what? If we really want to feed the hungry and we want to take care of the poor, well, he's saying we need more vaccines, but we do need to spend more money on other things than renewables because they don't work to power an economy.
Yeah, so the thing they're talking about is climate change. Because these corporations need so much energy, they say, for artificial intelligence, you don't hear them complaining so much about climate change anymore, including Bill Gates, who was one of the people who talked about how much we have so many people in the world that we're using more of the resources that we have, and the only way to get around that is to reduce the population. So they're not talking about that as much now. In fact, Bill Gates has had a complete 180 where he's saying climate change is not an existential threat to humanity. So let's continue.
Now, Bill, by the way, is a massive investor in AI and data center who activities who need massive quantities of baseload power. But now we have Zero Hedge saying the same thing. And even the Wall Street Journal, in an op-ed by Mario Loyola about 3 weeks ago, pointed out once again that the U.S. economy cannot be fueled to be sustainable with part-time intermittent renewables.
Brother, hang on. But Financial Times of London, AI bond spree sparks flood fears. I'm thinking about, and it's because debt tapped to cover data hub cost. Isn't there Gates and these guys? Their revelation is all tied to the fact they now know that artificial intelligence, where they're going to make 10 times bigger fortunes than they got, right? Because Jensen Huang says, hey, the whole computer stack of he calls it $100 trillion of computer infrastructure has to be done over now because the AI and what they're doing with quantum computing is totally different than what came before. It's their own. They're not having a revelation. They understand that this is now climate change is going to get in the way. Their sustainability stuff is all crap because they need to fire up, and they don't care if they put a nuclear power plant in your backyard to do it. If they don't get these data centers up and running, and they're going to raise $250 billion to do it right now in the debt markets, then the game is over. Correct?
Oh, no, this is totally self-serving. Also, it's correct, but it's self-serving on their part. The $200 billion of debt that Meta, Alphabet, Oracle, and these guys have raised will build about 80 gigawatts of 1,000 megawatt power plants. That's what they need. That's the major infrastructure that they need to power this AI thing. It's not as much the computer equipment. It's the power generation facilities. So now they're all over. Hey, these have to run 24 hours a day. They have to be gas-fired. And they're running into the fact that in a lot of regulated states, the regulated utilities are very opposed to and have all kinds of regulations making it very difficult for independent power production to occur. So Chris Wright does appropriately a few days ago come out with a charge to FERC to go ahead and get into looking at freeing up the ability of independent power producers to build generation plants in regulated states who block the transmission of electricity by competitors, who block competitors selling power over the border of their property, even 1 kilowatt, without selling it back only to them. All kinds of regulatory issues exist as impediments to allowing these firms to build their own power, which we need them to do. They need to hedge, and then they need to hedge if their business process doesn't bloom quite as they hope it will, that power can be sold into the grid cost effectively. We desperately need it anyhow. It's a good thing if these guys build their own generating capacity, and we can't have state regulated utilities standing in the way of that. They need to be helping it. So anyhow, it is self-serving, but what's happening is a good thing. It's beginning to crush the complete BS narrative.
It is, but hang on. It is, but hang on. But we must be clear. We must be clear in this. When it was just consumers, when it was just people in this audience, and all these phony commissions they've got in all these states that just work for the utilities and work for the politicians, utilities. When it was just you schmendricks out there, they didn't mind having solar batteries and having wind power, and they're going to have compost, and every whack job. The tides are going to come in and change everything. They all want to go back to Gaia and Mother Nature and do all this. When it's you and your electricity doesn't work and your air conditioning doesn't work and your heat doesn't work and your grid's down, that's your problem. Okay. We're going to get, put mirrors up there and get the sun. They don't care. Every whack job in the world, as long as they're spending money and charging it back to you, and it doesn't work 24 hours a day, that's fine. But when it comes to them, and it comes to the next money grab, which is artificial intelligence. Oh, by the way, that's going to take all your jobs, right? When it comes to that, no. Upon further review, who thought up these whack job solar panels and wind? What the hell is that? No. We need gas. We need oil. How about this? Give me a nuclear power plant. Remember, for nuclear, for those years, you were the great Satan even to mention it. Oh, give me a nuclear power plant in the back next to the Little League diamond in the neighborhood next to the data center. Oh, because the water down there in the aquifers, we don't care if we suck West Texas dry. We don't care if we suck every piece of water out of Arizona. So be it. The god of artificial, the demon summeth. They're being summoned by the demons, and the demon says we need the power. Dave Walsh.
Now, you have 43% rate increases down here in the Duke, Central Florida region, for example, since 2016, that on a documented basis have absolutely nothing to do with AI or DC. That hasn't shown up yet. All the rate cases, Florida Power and Light have the biggest one in the country ever before the Public Service Commission, are all about, the cost of them is about building out more solar and battery storage. That is now a little bit more in media now being acknowledged. That indeed has been what has driven up rates so far. AI hasn't really started yet to have an impact on rates. It's all about we tore down coal plants, we didn't build gas plants, and we raised rates through the roof because supply is way short.
And that is the truth. I live in Texas myself. There was a time where I had a job working with the Department of Energy out in Amarillo, but I still lived in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I would drive back and forth, and I would see these wind and solar I would see these wind fields of wind turbines, and they were unsightly. I was away from Texas in 2021 when a good portion of DFW had to have electricity rationed out because there wasn't enough when they had a big freeze to heat people for through this big storm that they had. And that is embarrassing when you know that one of the indexes that we have for a barrel of oil is called West Texas Intermediate Crude. That should be a good indicator of how much energy, particularly oil and gas, exists in Texas, and yet we have people freezing and only being allowed to turn on, only being given electricity for a few hours a day. I'm glad I didn't live here at that time, but it was embarrassing. It was even more embarrassing that they re-elected the governor at that time. I don't know if you've noticed, and I didn't notice until Steve Bannon pointed this out, that the talk about climate change has died down a bit because these tech bros, they're trying to be the next trillionaire, the first trillionaire. If you didn't know, Elon Musk, between himself and his companies, I believe Tesla in particular, are in negotiations for $1 trillion pay package for him. I know how good my life would be on what these guys make in maybe half a week. And it seems like they just can't get enough. Their thirst, their hunger for greed is without bounds, it seems. Getting rid of thousands of people at the same time reporting that their stock is up and blaming AI for it. I'm going to continue to investigate what the correlation really is between those things, and I'm finding out that they're not necessarily correlated. And I'm going to keep watching to find out, are we in an AI bubble? I've seen other YouTubers talk about it. I think we are, but I want to get a little bit more information before I speak on it in a video myself, because I don't want to have to do a retraction so soon. I want to, come correct the first time if I can. But you tell me, are you hearing as much about climate change as you used to? And if you are, from whom? Because the people who were able to fund this type of stuff are not funding it anymore. You might have some folks like maybe a George Soros, but it's not coming from Larry Ellison of Oracle. It's not coming from Elon Musk. It's not coming from Mark Zuckerberg of Meta. And apparently, even Bill Gates is dialing down his talk about it. I haven't heard Tim Cook talk about it from Apple. I don't hear the Google folks talking about it. So I think it's a good thing, but it's interesting how hypocritical they're coming off, considering they were very preachy about it in the past. But because this is the next multi-trillion-dollar industry, potentially with AI, they're willing to put all that aside because they just can't get enough. Anyway, thanks for watching. If this is your first time checking me out, please consider subscribing, maybe comment, maybe share, but particularly subscribe. I think this is my 60th video. And last I checked, I had 57 subscribers. I might have more now. I like to get that inverted, have a few more subscribers than I have videos. Otherwise, I'll have to be making videos for the next 450 weeks to get to 1,000. Seems like I get a couple new ones every week. But I jest. I know things aren't all linear. I know things could hit somewhat of a critical mass and take off. But if this is your first time watching, please consider subscribing. It doesn't cost you anything. And thanks for tuning in. I'll catch y'all next time. Bye-bye.